favor?
Steve, you come right up.
No minutes, no mail, no appointments. So, we'll start off with Steve, opening date. Now you had a projected date of tomorrow?
Yep, just did the
We're good.
the plumber's good, so yeah.
Yeah, good.
We're good to go, we will be open tomorrow?
Yes.
28th? Oh, excellent. All right. We'll just get into, the next item is FY '26. I wasn't sure if anything's really changed over the past few weeks between, dealings with the town or finance committee or anything like that as far as the next steps in next year's budget.
Two things. One, I haven't, and I don't believe Dana has had any contact from the finance committee about meetings or what have you. One thing I would bring up about the budget is I'm somewhat more concerned about this year's budget. The reason I say that is because the budget that this committee approved and the budget that the Board of Selectmen asked this committee to approve is not the budget showing up on our monthly reconciliation reports.
Line items are
The
different.
final total is the same, but the line items are different, which is going to, because we've been running off the budget that was approved by this committee and the Board of Selectmen. We saw that basically 6 or 7 months ago when we've got the first budget reconciliation report. At that time, Nick was still, I believe he's still employed in a part-time capacity. I brought that to his attention, and he basically told me that these were the numbers that I was told to put in. Like I said, the bottom line is the same. We just need to have those line items adjusted. For instance, they have $84,000 in capital. We didn't have $84,000 in capital. And the other thing is, one of the line items, which I believe, will probably come up maybe in Dana's discussion, is the golf cart lease. And what they did in that particular, the Board of Selectmen decided that you should take the golf cart maintenance contract and combine that with the golf cart lease. That's not reflected in that budget, and you don't have the capital. Let me put it this way, if you take that expense out of capital, then you're not going to have the monies to pay for the cart path work that we've already started in the tree work without, it's just like, it's a number positioning to put them where they were supposed to be. And if you remember, those changes in the budget came from the Board of Selectmen, because we had a meeting, submitted a budget, the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator reviewed it, then they came back to the Golf Committee with these recommended changes. The Golf Committee voted on them, and that was what the budget was supposed to be. So
I know in the past, as needed, there was the budget transfer form through the town accountant's office come to me, either you or one of the two of you guys or both of you had filled it out, and I know Nick at the time would just email it to me, I would sign it and send it back. I think given this point in the year, if you guys have recommendations of what's needed to move just to balance what we need to get through the rest of the year, obviously keeping the bottom line the same, can one of the two of you together just put that together?
Sure.
And I can sign it and we'll get it off to the accounting office.
Just to show you this just came in, and this is speak to exactly what Steve was saying. That's the golf cart maintenance program.
Yeah, that's
So
above
that's
and
the
beyond.
number that we're
Yeah.
gonna be looking for, one of the numbers. So I do have a copy of that as well, so you can just hold on to it. But that's gonna be one of the numbers that you'll see involved with those transfers.
Okay.
And on top of that, in this year's submission, I don't think that full number was included. I think only like 4,000 might have been included, but the number is 7,300. So I'm gonna communicate with Jamie and the new assistant town accountant, who is also named Jamie, of that, and try and get that rectified.
And then just getting back to the 26th, I know the finance committee's been meeting on Wednesdays primarily with different departments, so just I guess keep an eye out on it, because I'm sure they'll be asking you at one of these Wednesdays to show up. And
Very good.
if I'm available, I can show
Yeah,
up
the
as well.
golf cart lease service contract for FY '25 was supposed to be 85,350.
Right.
And
For this year, this submission that we just submitted, correct?
well, that was
But you're
what
talking about
last
the
year's
current.
were. If this year's submission, it's the same
Same.
85,350.
So that has to be in it. So I don't know if we want to put it somewhere else, if you want to keep it with the golf cart lease and contract, or if we want to put it in rentals and leases, or wherever we want to move it. Now's the time to put it in the spot that we want to put it in.
Yeah, because they said 7,000, last year was 7,350. It was supposed to be added to the golf cart lease, or the golf cart lease line item to accommodate the service contract.
And I guess it doesn't matter, just as long as we're consistent with
Right.
where the bills try to be paid and
Yep.
where it's budgeted. All right, so that's those first two. All right, Dana, what's been happening over the winter getting ready for tomorrow? You all set to go?
Yeah, I basically just hit you with some bullet points for off the top. April, just so we know where we're headed. Our forecast is for 224,000, and we're about to embark on that journey starting tomorrow. Pro Shop products have been ordered. We've backfilled. We've got golf ball. We got our supplies. The crux of it. I still have some other stuff coming in. We are, as I stated, that line item is relatively tight for Pro Shop due to the process of coming through COVID and not adding anything to our budget, and what was available, what isn't available. So we've modified that in this year's upcoming budget, but I will try and navigate that as best as possible to get what we need for impulse sales. And as far as some of the gaps that need to be filled, I'll wait till July 1 to try and backfill on like vests or whatever, some apparel that we could probably use in the shop. Repairs. We have one refrigerator down in the Pro Shop for soft drinks. I got that in process. The plumbing needed to be repaired. We had a leak. It was a difficult time getting a hold of a plumber to get in and get this done, as well as we kind of hold off on twisting it and testing the pipes because we've had some inclement weather and some cold temps overnights. With that balance, I think next year I'm going to take a little bit more risk and twist it a little bit earlier so that if there is a break, we're going to just take the risk on fixing whatever's broken and hope that it doesn't drop to 20 degrees between that time and the end of the day. But anyways, that's fixed and ready to go. That's just got completed today. We have upcoming maintenance Mondays in April. I just want to confirm on the table, the 7th and 28th is in the books.
We can probably, because the irrigation system is getting filled on the 8th, so we can probably, why don't we delete the 7th?
7th scratch.
So it's just the 28th.
Do we need to do anything on
The other thing I was going
On
to
the
touch
8th?
on this on the 8th is that there's an 8-inch flow control valve inside the pump house, which doesn't close. So that flow control valve is going to have to be is scheduled to be replaced when we do the system, and then we also have to replace the flow meter, which is basically the flow meter records how much water you irrigate over the course of each particular irrigation and the course of the entire year, and that's needed to have provide the information to fill out the annual water use report that's required by the state for our permit. So that's going to take, it's going to make the process of getting us up and charged about an hour to an hour and a half longer. And that's why I figured it'd be best to not have something, what I would ask for would be a 2-hour delay on tee times on Tuesday.
The 8th?
And yeah, on the 8th. And I didn't think it was legitimate to, have 2 morning delays right in a row, so that's why we decided that we would pass on the 7th.
Got it.
You couldn't have had that guy come on the 7th instead? That wasn't a possibility?
Well, no, because if I had him come on the 7th, see, I scheduled it, and we scheduled it at the same time because the pump folks come from Connecticut, and what we try to do is we try to schedule. He tries to schedule things in blocks because he comes up to other courses in this area, schedules those blocks, and then that way you can share some of the travel expenses with other courses and what have you. So instead of having him come up, do that, and then have come back, we decided, well, we'll stick with that Tuesday, and I booked that. Back. I usually book it January, February. That's when they start making their schedules out for the spring. So.
And then to move forward onto the golf carts, all of the golf carts have been maintained and prepared for the season. They've gone through their winter maintenance program. All carts have been serviced and they're filled with gas and ready to roll. The tent is scheduled to go up roughly in about a week and a half to 2 weeks. Kind of waiting for the weather to break. We don't want to do it too soon, but that's on a schedule already. And as far as pricing and the website is updated. All price points and outings are listed on the website, respective of their dates, as well as maintenance Mondays and anything else that is booked. The booking engine is linked to our website, and that is up and running. The Golf Now has also been updated with our rates. That booking engine is functioning properly, and the correct rates are being listed online. And those tee times are currently being booked through that booking engine to the tee sheet, so that's in effect. Our outing schedule is about 90% full with our repeat customers from last season. Obviously, we have to get in touch with a few more. All our leagues have been updated: adult clinics, junior clinics, high school practices, maintenance days, college events, high school championships, charity golf events, and all of that is listed, is on the website, and that's available 24/7. So if you can't get in touch with the pro shop, you can access the website, and that'll have it. But if you want a printout, that is available at the pro shop during hours of operation. And we do have an exploratory meeting. I'm just going to give you a brief update. We have a meeting upcoming next week with the architect, and we are reviewing the fundamental infrastructure and conceptual / budget estimates. And Catalyst will be making a presentation and making an appearance next week. So as soon as we get some information from that, I'll get you guys updated.
Sounds good. Any other questions for Dana? No? Steve left us with a picture here.
Yes. Figured I'd start with that. Basically, this winter was not too significant with problems as far as winter or cold weather turf damage. Basically, you either get cold weather turf damage from significant overnight fluctuations in temperatures, which we had a couple of, and also ice or standing water that turns to ice, and the thickness of the ice, and whether or not you can get oxygen down and air circulation down to the turf. The picture you're looking at is the fourth green. If you look at the fourth green, there is no other green on the golf course that looks nearly or even close to being that ugly. What happens on the fourth green, as you can see from the photograph, in the back of the fourth green and to the right side of the fourth green, there are a significant number of trees that are over 60 feet tall. That green is not getting enough sunlight during the course of the winter to remove any of the snow or ice that we've have accumulated. This year we had to put black sand on it twice to get the ice to pit and to start to get rid of it. The good news is it doesn't look pretty, but there is green leaf tissue under a majority of that brown leaf tissue. We've taken a plug from the worst portion of that green, which is primarily in the center. And what you do with that plug is we bring that plug inside, make sure it has significant moisture, put it in a little plastic bag with some air that can get into it, and you let it sit in a warm spot for 3 or 4 days. And what will happen is, because of the warmer temperatures, you'll see where you are in terms of getting any growth response out of that, and that'll help you gauge how quickly you may have some recovery there. There was a significant number of good white roots underneath when the plug was pulled. So I'm confident that we'll get the majority of it recovered, although we're prepared to aerate, overseed, top dress, drag, brush, fertilize, and introduce new seed into that green. The other thing you'll notice is the back and upper left-hand corner of that green is in much better shape than the bottom half. The bottom half is where the water sits, but the bottom half is also the half that gets significantly more traffic. And because of that, you have significantly more poa annua on the front portion of that green, and that does not take the winter cold temperatures nearly as well as the bent grass. You can see scattered throughout that picture pockets of bent grass, which are in relatively good shape.
Is that the dark green or the light green?
The dark green. The POA is all going to be brown. Anywhere you see brown is primarily the POA. The light and the darker green, you may have a little bit of POA in there that survived. And basically what happened, I don't know if you remember the last snowstorm that we had a snowstorm, and then a third of the way through the snowstorm it started to rain. And it rained and it rained and it rained, and then all of a sudden the next day your temperature drops into the low teens and single digits. And what happens is that ice and all that slush freezes. There's no oxygen exchange, but what you also get is what they call crown hydration right at the surface. And basically what that does is that cuts off the crown from any oxygen flow or any gases exchange, and it basically dies in some places and goes significantly dormant in others. So after we, by Monday morning, we should have a good idea, after that plug sits in the windowsill for a couple of days and gets warmed up, what we're going to have as far as recovery goes. And as I said, we're prepared to do that, to take care of that in the future if we don't get the recovery we want. The big issue is that something has to be done about this, because it's not going to get any better until those trees are removed.
Can we top them?
Well, I mean, you could. I don't know if you want to make lollipops. I don't know if you. Pine trees, probably yes, because they won't have any leaders that turn up and go up. Any oak trees or hardwood trees, as soon as you top it, it'll send the leader out to the side, and that'll reestablish itself as the main leader.
Right.
The other thing is not only the blockage of sunlight, but it's the interruption of air circulation. For sunlight, we can basically take sun angle measurements out there during the course of the days and exhibit how much or how little that particular green gets from sun, and then there's models where you can remove X number of trees theoretically to see how that's going to affect your sun angle. But there's a significant, especially on the right-hand side of that green, because the sun comes up in the upper left-hand corner of that photograph, it barely gets atop the trees by 10 or 11 o'clock, and by the time it moves to 1 o'clock, 12:30 or 1 o'clock, it's already on the right side of the green, and the tops of those trees are starting to block it again.
How many do you think it would take to open that space up? Total.
If I was going to open that space up, I'd take a tape measure and I'd stand on the top of the green and I'd measure back 100 yards or probably 60, 70 yards back into the woods, and I'd chop every tree down that I could get my saw on.
The Lorax.
It would take care of it.
Well, it would, you really, when they,
Tape
it's, if you, to make a long story short, that should have been a consideration when they built the golf course. Now, of course, those trees weren't as tall as they are now as they were then. But even that bunker on the right-hand side of that green they're far too close to the tree line. Now, of course, taking down trees of that magnitude, obviously costs extra money. I don't know if there'd be a land clearing company that would be interested in doing something like that. I mean, it's decent pine. You could cut it and use it for lumber. I don't know if there's any small lumber mills around here, because basically, if we were to do it, that would be and even to get, if we were to do that, or if you were to get a tree company, that would be a significant undertaking for a tree company or someone like myself. Basically, what you need is a land clearer going to come in there with a skidder and a feller buncher, and he's going to cut these things up, chip everything, and leave you a big pile of chips unless they want the wood.
How about the person that owns the bog to the right? 'Cause they're always
Well, if
cutting.
I believe that's, I still think those are Catino's bogs. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, I may be wrong.
That's
He's
a pretty property over there.
he's done some of that himself,
Yeah.
because several years ago, they built a new house back in there.
Yep.
So I don't know, and it's not in close proximity to his bogs. I'm not quite sure where the property line is back there behind that green. I'd have to
Close to the house though, that new house. It's not. I mean, it's a walk.
I mean, you can see it when the understory isn't, when the understory has lost its leaves.
When
But
you had,
it goes downhill. and
when you
back
had
to the-
Samson there cutting those trees, did you show those to him at all and get him quick estimate at all? Or?
Yeah, well, your guy, you'd have to, in order for anybody to give you an estimate, we'd have to do some modeling of the sun angles and then determine what trees to take down. Now, Dana had mentioned that, you're going to have a meeting with that architect next week. Well, Tim Garish, who is the architect who did the design work and stuff for our bunkers and other work on the golf course, is part of that person's team. So when and if they decide to have a site meeting, because I think the first meeting, the joint meeting we had, the fella said that he was going to stop by and he wanted to meet with the two of us and Tim. Well, whenever that occurs, once that's complete, I could take Tim out there and he and I could figure out, what we would do from the perspective of sun angles and stuff, because that's part of his work anyway. And when they build good golf courses, is determine where the shade's going to come from and how much and for what the duration is going to be. I mean, it's not something we're going to do tomorrow, but it's something that we need to plan to do in the near future, or else we're going to have the continuation of this in years to come.
Have you ever seen the green in that condition coming out of winter?
Not that ugly. In the past it's had spots, primarily down in the front left and the front right, but the ice settled right where the slope comes down off of that green, and that's where we had the major problem in the middle of the green.
I don't remember seeing it that bad.
But that fourth green always has kind of been a problem child. It's the only green that you go
Yeah.
temporary, I
Yeah.
think, don't you?
Yeah, it gets
Yeah,
frosty
now, I mean,
early and late.
as an example, if you remember a couple years ago, was it 2 years ago, it may have been, we did some clearing of trees to the right side of the driving range, and the right side of the
Right.
driving range tee. And if you'll notice on the sixth green, we had a little bit of minimal injury on the right side of the sixth green. And the interesting thing is out of all the greens that were cut today, the sixth green was the one where we had to empty the buckets twice. So it's responding significantly to having that extra sunlight, and there's actually a few more trees that could have come out on that right side, which we may have to consider once I get Dan Tibbetts in there to do the bunker work, just so they don't interrupt or don't influence what he's going to be doing when redoing that bunker.
Is there any way we could get the bunker plans?
Yeah.
You send that.
You want? Yeah, I've got them in my laptop. I've got the schematics for each hole.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, no, that's no problem. I mean, it was in the bid, but it was in the bid documents that went out. But in the bid response, it wasn't going to be in there anyway because it didn't need to be sent back. We touched on the irrigation system, so no need to go into that again. You can see there the winter projects that were completed. These are since our last meeting on the 20th of February. We've done brush cutting and tree line maintenance on the fairway on the right-hand side of the second hole and the left-hand side of the 18th hole, basically from tee to green. All our equipment is up and ready to go. We have the only piece of equipment that's not capable of being used at this time is the brush mower, because we have to do some work on that. That's the walk-behind brush mower. We have some pruning of trees left, although we did finish, like I said, on the right side of the second hole and the forward tee on the 10th hole. We've got stump grinding, all the stumps for the trees on the right side of the second hole or adjacent to the fairway that were taken out. The stumps have all been ground. We've had quite a few geese visit us over the past 3 to 4 months. The backside fairways have been drugged twice in order to break up the goose droppings so we can blow them off, so they'll all be cleaned up once we get started tomorrow. I can't ensure how long they're going to stay cleaned up. Depends on how much we can deter the geese from sticking around. All the greens, tees, and fairways have been blown off. The greens have been rolled, and the greens have been cut for the first time today. They'll be cut again tomorrow, or excuse me, they'll be rolled again tomorrow. And everything will be set up for play tomorrow morning. I will mention for those who might be coming early that the weatherman does say the temperature is going to be in the low 30s. So hopefully we don't have any of the white stuff to deal with, but that could be a chance tomorrow morning. And we made our own boundary markers, concrete bounds for the boundary line to the right side of the 8th green, and those have been completed, so when we get a chance we'll put those all in just to so we had some type of permanent marker there. And you see we have some tree removal left to do between the 8th and the 9th tees. Once it dries up a little bit we could get to that. And we do have some to the right of the 10th green, although that's not as critical as the work that we have been doing, so that could be postponed without any significant issues as far as shading and frost removal and what have you. As far as spring work projects, we've had we should be completing the gate or railing that goes up by the front gate by the end of next week. And then once the materials become available, we'll have him replace the guardrail, basically or replace the stones to the right of the entranceway with a guardrail. Currently a series of stones next to the pond that keep people from driving off the road there. We'll put that as a guardrail as opposed to the stones. We have, as I mentioned, we have to insert those boundary markers to the left to the right of the 8th green. We're going to start doing bunker edging and replacing sand where needed. We have sodding work to do around the third tee adjacent to the curbing. We'll also be doing some of that on the first tee and the 10th tee once those cart paths and berms are put in. Speaking cart path work, a portion of the old or former path by the first tee has been taken out. The base material for the new path has been installed. That will be rolled tomorrow, and as will the new path is going in adjacent to the 10th tee. Once those are both, once the base material has been put down, they've both been rolled, those will be ready for asphalt. Asphalt plants aren't open right now. As soon as the asphalt plant's open, then we'll be able to schedule that. The 18th green cart path I temporarily put that on hold because I wanted to make sure that we had consensus from this committee on that cart path, and the fact that there's approximately 13 trees adjacent to that path that have to be removed. Dan and I went down there and looked at it a couple days ago, or was it last week or the week before? No, 2 weeks ago, possibly. And he said there's really no sense in putting a new cart path in here and leaving those trees because the roots are going to heave your new cart path. And he said, besides that, he said, by the time I get down here with the excavator and start pulling this blacktop out, I'm going to pull out a good portion of the roots to those trees anyway. So, long and short of it, I marked the trees. I received a quote for the removal of the trees today, and he asked me about when they could start the work, and I told him I'd let him know after this evening's meeting, but he's tentatively has us on the schedule for next Tuesday to start removing those trees. The quote for the removal of the trees was $5,600, and it will take him approximately a day. And he said definitely be done in 2 days, could be finished in a day and a half, depending. It's supposed to rain a little bit on Monday, but Tuesday and Wednesday are supposed to be somewhat decent days. And what they will be doing is they'll be taking the trees down, they'll chip everything that fits into their chipper. Anything that doesn't fit into the chipper, they'll leave behind, and we will cut that into the appropriate lengths, and Dan will be able to put that in trucks and ship that away when he's taking the cart path work out. So, and as I mentioned before, once the asphalt plant's open, Dan mentioned, he said, there's one or two that are open now, but he said the prices that they're charging right now for the asphalt are ridiculous. He said it's better for you to wait until the main plants open up. So once they open, then we'll schedule a day when he's going to do the asphalt work. And since all the cart paths would have been prepped, then he can come in and complete. He wants to come in and complete the asphalt work in 1 day. So what I would suggest on that particular day is that we either, we delay the start of play for those folks who would be, using golf carts. Just because, we can accommodate walking play. That wouldn't be an issue. They just, we just have to make sure that they didn't get, exposed in any way or the other to the asphalt work. But as far as golf carts were concerned, that would have to be something that was delayed until the asphalt is put down until it cures, which I would estimate if he's able to start first thing in the morning, I'd say that'd probably be around noontime or somewhere in that neighborhood. I can get a better estimate from Dan once he lets me know. But the other thing that happens with these things is it's not just laying the asphalt. In order to lay the asphalt properly, he'll have 6 or 7 trucks running asphalt, or 5 or 6 trucks running asphalt. And what these trucks are going to do is they're going to need to be able to turn around, back down, and start dumping the load into the paver as he moves forward. Once one truck is finished, we're going to have to get it out of the way and back another one down. And if you'll note, there's not a whole lot of room in there to drive, these large asphalt trucks down there. And it's just not, you're just not capable of doing it with a smaller truck. The larger asphalt trucks have a heated bed and so forth, and it hooks right up to the back of his paver, and he can go right along. So it's not.
Maybe start on 7 that day? Would that work?
Well, 7, 8, 9, you still have to come to 10.
No, yeah, but lead them back up 7 to go over to 10. And then
it's possible, but like I said, you're going to have a lot of trucks moving in and out, and to have a lot of people trying to dart in between trucks and whatnot isn't going to be the safest thing. And those guys, once he gets through one truck, he's got to have another truck to go right ahead. He can't sit there and be waiting for trucks, because once that material comes out and is out of that machine, it's going to start to harden.
Does Dan have an idea when the asphalt plants will open?
He said a week to 2 weeks. You know, I'll ask him again tomorrow, but he said a week to 2 weeks.
So should we try and like coordinate it with the?
Well, that was the thing. I mean, that's why he was waiting, because he said, I want to get them all prepped. He said, I don't want to, he said, I'm not going to have time to come back one day and do some asphalting and then come back another day and do the rest. You get everything prepped, all his guys ready to come in and do the asphalt work all in one day.
How about the way the car parts are now? Are we gonna do like a little ramp to the?
Yeah, he'll put
Know what I'm
he'll put some of the mix, the base mix, at where the two cut ends of the cart path are, so there's not a big divot or dump when you drive off the cart path. And then once he comes in to do the asphalt, we'll just brush that off and level it out.
We might need the maintenance Monday on them, right?
Well, I mean, we'll see. I don't want to just pull a day out of the air and without talking with him.
No,
and
yeah,
going through it.
But it's coming.
I'm just trying to wrap my mind around
Yeah.
running the operation. What do you think we
That
should
would
do?
work.
Or do you make it the 14th and not have the 28th? Can you change those? Those are flexible? It's either that, or can you rope the place off so you reroute these guys so that they're somehow
Well,
not
the thing about the maintenance Mondays and the other things, when you're trying to feed a living plant or you're trying to stop a disease or something, you have to schedule these things out at the time in which these things are going to occur.
Right.
Asphalting, yeah, I mean, it's you can change a day or two depending on when the plant opens or when his schedule opens. But I can't tell the hype roadies to stop walking across the fairways and start chewing on the grass. So I've got to plan this out based on growing degree days, based on warmth, and based on what I observe when we go out there and scout for insects or what have you. So that's why those days are scheduled in there, because that's the normal time that type of thing occurs.
Right.
We can change those somewhat, but I would, I don't think it was going to be a major disruption once we find when the asphalt work is going to take place. And again, we won't know that. I know tee times are scheduled a week ahead of time, so we're going to try to get that information and set up a day based on when the plant's open, when Dan's available, and when the weather's going to work for us. It's not going to hurt for the carts to drive over the process at all.
No, right.
Yep.
So it's just going to be,
If the plant's open and it's prepped by the 8th, that day might be decent since you're already having a delayed start. If the
well,
plant's open-
it's a possibility. Again, I don't know when the asphalt
Right.
plant's going to open, and I can't speak for what Dan's schedule is.
Correct.
So,
All right, so let me ask you
This
this.
would be ideal.
I'm just trying to. How long is it that you can't ride over the asphalt for after it's laid?
I don't, I'd have to ask him. It's got a cure, and it's going to be hot. Two things about that. First of all, it's going to be
I
very
would just say
hot.
the whole
Yeah, no, I
thing.
get it.
Second of all, when a cart goes over top of it or something goes over top of it and it's
Yeah, you don't
not
want them driving
cured,
on the grass with
you're
that.
going to divot it, you're going to mark it. You don't want to be walking across. I mean, I'll give you an example. Last year, 2 years ago, we did the third hole. I mean, we've done the cart path and then we're out there to do the berm. We're doing the berm and we start here and I get 5 feet down the berm and I've got my wheelbarrow that I'm dumping and I turn around and here's one of our lady golfers who stepped on the berm. Now this stuff is screeching hot and she just sunk through the berm.
What'd you say to her?
Huh?
Thank you.
That's the kind of thing you want to avoid, because I didn't say anything. I left that to the guys who had. I mean, I was just pushing a wheelbarrow. I wasn't running the.
Shovels
I
just
wasn't
stopped
running the
and
machine.
they're
And that's
I
the
would
other.
say ideally keep them off for that whole day.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what I'm getting at. What do we want to do? That's what I'm trying to tie it here.
See, because there's two. We'll do the blacktop first because the cart path asphalt is different than the berm
And the
material.
verbs, yeah.
So we do the blacktop first. The blacktop cures, and then you come back in with the berming. And the berming's not that big of a deal. It's more sweat equity than anything else. You need about 5 or 6 wheelbarrows and 5 or 6 guys who can push those wheelbarrows for about 3 or 4 hours. And we can put the berm in and still have carts, we can just push the carts off to the side and, have somebody out there with a, electric whip or something to keep somebody from stepping on it. I mean, it's the whole, golf carts are a wonderful thing, but you have to jump through hoops to be able to accommodate them, and a lot of times they're worth a lot less than they actually bring you in revenue. But in order to do that, and the other thing this enables us to do is enables us to get rid of a whole slew of ropes and stakes, which are ugly, number one, which are dangerous because some people don't pay attention, run them over, they go flipping up in the air, or instead of trying to walk through the openings that are left, they step on the rope, it gets caught in their spikes, then they trip, and then of course as soon as they step on the rope, it's laying over and it looks ridiculous. So.
Or they drag them for 12 holes.
Yeah, that's
tied to their cars.
tied to the tire underneath the cart. So to answer Dane, I mean, I guess the answer to Dane's question, we're going to have to. I'm going to have to. Dan and I are going to have to be in pretty close communication so we can get this squared away. And again, if we're going to go ahead and remove those trees on the 18th hole, then we've got to get them back in here with the excavator to prep that hole.
Do we need to vote for that? Or is it?
Well, I just want the committee. I mean, it's a sizable number of trees. Although most people, if they're not there when the actual trees are coming down, probably won't notice that the trees are gone.
No, they don't affect play. They're not like strategical trees.
No.
No, a couple of them are in pretty sad shape too. But
I think that just so nobody questions that he had our input on it. If someone wants to make a motion to those trees.
Yeah. Make a motion to cut the. I'm going to make a motion to to approve the cutting down of the trees on the right side of the 18th car path.
Yeah, I was there today. We looked at them, and it makes total sense to take those down. So I'll second that.
All right.
All in favor? Yeah. Aye. Okay.
But just on the asphalt thing, it's it's one sentence on here of delaying the start until noon, right? And that's it. But that's could be a huge morning if it's a nice day on whatever day it is in April. That's a lot of revenue. And if it's the spot on 1, the spot on 10, the spot on 18, right? I just feel like there's a way we can put our heads together and work around it somehow to not have to lose. And I get what you're saying, Steve, on golf carts and whatever, but I would say a big percentage of our morning golfers probably use carts on a weekday. I think that's probably a fair statement.
yeah.
Fair.
So if there's a way that we can somehow.
I mean,
work
like
together
I
to
said,
do
this is something for you to tackle. And the reason I say that is because, yes, you could take carts. You could route carts down towards the driving range tee, towards the 6th green, cut across on the right-hand side, but you still have to get to the tee. So you'd either have to walk on the asphalt to get there, or you'd have to pull in front of the tee. And I'm telling you, I mean, you guys were there today when those trucks were there. Those aren't tiny trucks.
No.
And to fit between where the putting green stops and there, and to have some guy, I mean,
Hey,
I'm
I'll be
sorry,
honest
but
too. Those guys are not trained to look
No, they're
out
not-
for pedestrians. When they
No.
do work, they're going to do work and they're moving. So it's not second nature for them to be kind of like looking out their window. They usually have streets blocked off. They're rolling in. They're dropping.
yeah, there's a way you can, but you
I
can.
mean, because they've done work, and I've actually walked out of the trailer and go, "Yo, take it down, easy."
Well, that's they're accustomed to, that they've got a job to do, they've got to get it done. But the problem with most golfers too, and this happens all the time behind the tee, whether they're with no trucks, is it's get out of the park, drive in the parking lot, open the trunk, take out your clubs, put your brain in, close the trunk, and go play golf. They leave the cart parked here, another cart parked over here. Oh, Joe's got to talk to Sam, and the first tee's backed up, so we all got to park here, and that guy's going to be sitting there laying on that horn, and that stuff's going to be sitting in the back of that truck getting cool. And then if it doesn't, and if you don't get it out of the truck and on the ground quick enough, then you got a problem. If we want to try, we can try to work around it. I just don't know what the day is that he's going to do it. And the other thing is in the future, if we're going, and as I mentioned several months ago when we first talked about cart path work, this is something that has to be scheduled within his schedule.
Yeah.
And once he has the time to do it, if we're going to have assistance from the DPW, we have to do it in that time slot. And a lot of times we sit here and say, okay, yep, that's a good idea, and we don't make a decision. And then 3 or 4 weeks come by, and then he has something else that comes up on the schedule, and the time he had available for you is gone. So,
It's just
What's
tough.
the-
110 and 18, those are three
Yeah,
main thorough.
Yeah, and
What's the
they're
lost
right
revenue
there.
if you close for a day?
You're looking at, on a Monday, probably about 8 Gs.
I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
advertising to close for a day, but I'm just saying the amount of money we're saving by having him do it versus if we were to.
oh yeah, if you had put this out
have to
and
close
pay
for a day,
prevailing
it's
wage,
still on
you'd
the
be,
green.
and you'd still,
So then
you'd
what
still have to, because there isn't a contractor
And
in
they're
the
gonna
world that's
close
gonna
with
come
that.
in there
Right.
and try to work.
So what I would try to do to speak to Adam's point is maybe we try to do it on a maintenance Monday. So if you're only losing half because we're already losing that half in the morning.
I mean, if he's got to bring his excavator in there anyway, he's got to rip out those roots. That's going to take some time, especially if we have some crappy weather.
Well, he'll be able to, he'd probably be able to get 3/4 of that cart path done in one day. I mean, he did all the first hole and a portion of 10 yesterday and finished 10 today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say it's going to take him a day and a half. Now when he's actually doing that work, we can find a way.
Right.
We're going to have to take people who are coming up 18, and we're going to have to route them so they obviously can finish playing the hole. And that's all depends on where we could start down. We could start down at the bunker end and work up that way. That we would be putting down processed gravel and stuff initially down that way first. If we had to, we could have them play the hole, turn around, cut in front of the first tee,
Right.
and go back around that way.
So we know that the asphalt plants will be open by April 28th. That's your next.
I don't know. I would suspect.
Yeah, April
yes.
28th. I think they should.
I
Probably
mean,
be
if we
You're
want,
gonna have to
if we
close
want
for the
to,
first half day anyway.
I mean, I can speak to Dan. We'll have to speak to him about that and see if we could take a day like that and this far ahead in advance. Say, okay,
Right.
this is what we're going to do on that day.
Oh, yeah.
So we're a month ahead of time to answer Adam's question. That'll save them. And I am saying I can ask him once that cart path is down and it sits there for an hour. It's okay for a golf cart. I mean, you're not driving a car over it. You're not
Right.
driving heavy equipment
Yeah,
over it.
those are light.
So once this firms up, it's okay for a golf cart, because if you remember last year, we
Yeah, except
we sent Clay off the 10th hole,
Right.
and we did the second hole,
Right.
Oh yeah.
right? And then by the
we're all
time
the way around.
they got all the way around,
Those guys were gone.
there was only a certain portion that we had to divert people around in order for them to finish.
Right.
So, like I said, once it's, I mean, I'm guessing probably about an hour.
But either way, your trucks are bottlenecking. At
Yeah,
that
that's the other problem
Your trucks
too.
are
On
right
the,
there no matter
when
what.
we did the second hole, we could line trucks up behind the 5th green, and it wasn't a problem.
Right.
Nobody was in the way or anything that way.
Right.
So I'll talk with him, see if we can find out if we want to zero in that date. I mean, we can zero in that date, or if he has an earlier date, the Monday before is the 21st, right? I don't know. I don't think we have. Obviously, again, too, we'd have to look at the golf schedule.
Yeah.
We could X
I
out
don't
the
have too much
28th.
planned in April. I don't have.
We could cross out the 28th and move the maintenance Monday to the 21st.
I think
if he
that's
had
a way
time
to do it. If you can schedule it with him that way, see, if you can, say, hey, the 21 or the 28, which one works for you? If the plant's going to be open, and at least do it on maintenance Monday. And then if it gets closer to that date, a week ahead of time, if you say you have to, there's no way we're going to get it done in a half a day. Then I don't know. We got to get the cart pass done.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. As soon as possible.
All right, so we'll discuss, how long, what the delay is in getting on them, number one, and number two, see if we can pick a date now and say, okay, this is the date we're
Try and
going to do
tack
it on, and then that way we can plan accordingly. Again, I mean, early in April, I can change around, the maintenance Monday, and it's primarily there because that was going to be the first day for spraying fairways. And again, spraying fairways is, even with 2 machines, we can get caught sometimes, and
Right.
that's technically not supposed to happen, or not supposed to be allowed to happen. Speaking of spraying, Toro sprayer should be here next week. The cost is, as we mentioned before, $75,449.60. Turf Products gave us a trade-in value on our Smithco of $4,500. So I'm just verifying the fact that we can subtract that amount from the overall cost of the machine. What they either do that, or they give you what they call distributor credit.
Yeah.
So that'll be determined, because they'll want to pick that machine up when they come and drop the other one off. The next, as far as other equipment is concerned, these are just numbers that were there that presented at the last meeting. These are updates on items that we had discussed before. Those are just there for information only. The last thing that I wanted to touch on was, he had mentioned at the last meeting, it brought to people's attention the need for additional space for us to store equipment attachments and what have you. If you look at the second page in there that you have, that's a schematic of, that's a front view of the proposed building. Is 50 feet across the front. There's 2 overhead doors in the front. It's 40 feet from front to back. Gives you 2,000 square feet of additional storage space. And it's interesting that this came up with it. It did. I just, after our last meeting, a week or two after our last meeting, we had the New England Regional Turfgrass Conference and Show, and one of the presenters asked an interesting question. You've got a room full of superintendents, lawn care professionals, and probably some owners, probably some other golfers, and he asked us straight out what the most important point on the golf course was. And he fielded answers from the crowd, and I'll do the same zone for you guys. What's the most important point on the golf course?
18th hole.
Well, besides
19.
that, depending on how good or bad your round is. But if someone could come to you and ask you what the most important point on the golf course is,
The maintenance building. The maintenance.
well, some people say the maintenance building.
In a room full of superintendents.
No, well, you'd be surprised, huh?
I mean, greens, tees, bunkers, those.
Well, and it's interesting because nobody really thinks of this, but the most important point on the golf course is where the reel meets the bed knife. Because if your quality of cut isn't where it's supposed to be, your putting doesn't make a difference, because it isn't going to happen.
I knew Sensei was coming to
Your
this meeting.
ball's not rolling on the fairway, and your tees aren't going to look the way you want them to look. And the reason I mention that, and again, the reason I brought this up and this building up, because I thought now is the better time to do it, because everybody's talking about what's going to happen in the future. You're going to plan for the future. We spent $24,000 for the National Golf Foundation to give us a bunch of numbers and stuff.
25.
And so on. And the important thing is that we don't have the proper facilities to maintain our equipment to the level it's going to need to be maintained if we're going to continue to provide the services we provide in the future. Not only is it the current technology that we have to keep up with, but the technology is changing. I mean, this is the first year I ever saw Toro have an autonomous mower in its booth at the turf show. And all of the, you think your car has an interesting computer system. You should see the interesting computer system on the new fairway mowers, where you have to plug in you plug your PC into it to get it diagnosed. And if you can't afford to pay the Toro, if you can't afford to buy the software, you have to pay the Toro rep to come down and plug it in, because they won't give it to you. You can't diagnose.
No, software.
You can't diagnose because you can't get the information. So the idea here is to, and if anybody's interested in seeing the storage or capacity problem, they can come to the shop at 5 o'clock in the morning before we move things out. And the reason that we're looking at this is because we can take, in the cold storage side of our existing building, you can take all of the equipment attachments, slice seeder, aerator, greens roller that sits on its own trailer, and so on, sweeper, put those in the newer building, which is cold storage. Go to the warm storage side of the building, take all the triplexes, fairway mowers, and what have you that we currently store in there, put them where the equipment attachments came out of, and now you actually have a space to create what you're going to need in a maintenance facility to keep up with what the future is going to bring. And if anybody has any questions about what modern maintenance facilities are to look like, I can call a few friends and we can go visit them. And this is this is basically the heart and soul of your operation from the standpoint of that most important point. Because if your reel to bed knife isn't proper, then everything else that you do out there, and it not only affects the ball roll, but if you're shearing grass, it affects the disease problems. It also affects the appearance, and it also affects the equipment. So we really need to be able to focus, have the proper part storage, have the proper, I mean, we have a mechanic now who's, you're lifting 70 to 80 pound reels off the floor. We shouldn't be doing that time and time again. We should have a lift that lifts those reels off the floor individually for the lift. And for, you're asking someone, now and into the future to come in and take care of right now what amounts to $1.6 to $1.7 million worth of equipment. And the fact of the matter is, and I can tell you right now that the students that are coming out and who may be interested in working as a golf course mechanic, they're going to come in and look at your facility and they say, oh, no, you can pay me $100,000, and that's not going to happen. So it's all part of a process moving forward. Obviously, this is something, again, that's not going to happen tomorrow. The price the price for this building is between $80,000 and $90,000, depending on what the foundation cost is going to be, and whether or not the price of steel goes up significantly since I got the quote. The interesting thing to remember, though, is if you're buying a 4500 rough mower, right now the list price for the 4500 rough mower is $85,000. So you don't want to be taking the $85,000 and putting it outside. And right now we're to the gills, and we had it's a good thing I had all the equipment moved out of the building when our safety review came the other day, because from tripping and this sticking out here and that sticking out there and this hanging up there and so on. So it's something to consider, and I think is something we should look forward to possibly doing something in the fall of this year. And as I mentioned before, this is something that's within the capabilities of erecting between ourselves with some assistance from the DPW. And the reason I say that is it's basically, it comes to you as an erector set or a Lincoln log set. If you look at that first page and then you turn and look at the second page that you have in there, that's the side view, shows you the elevation from front to back. It's got a monosloped roof, so the snow washes off, will go down off the back of the building, and it would be located approximately behind our existing building. And the only other major thing we'd have to do is cut the asphalt and dig a trench so we can take electricity from the existing building to the new one, so we can have lights and a alarm system. But
So this isn't a new building, it's just an addition to the building?
no, it's not brand new. It's like I said, it's just cold storage. It's a 40 by 50 metal building with two large doors on the front and a pass door on the left-hand side and a pass-through door on the front. It's not it's not a brand new building. We talk about if you were to go and do a new maintenance facility, completely. The way they construct maintenance facilities nowadays, you're talking about $1.5 million, $2 million.
Can we make it out of pine?
I don't know. If you get, probably if you do you have a portable sawmill? we'll start cutting right now. You probably could. I mean, it'd be better than nothing. But I just I brought that up the last week. I wanted to reiterate it again, and I thought it was kind of interesting that because a lot of people in that room coming. I've been going to educational seminars for 35 plus years. And I got more out of that one seminar than I got out of all the other ones combined. Because if you don't, I mean, something as simple as that reel to bed knife, if that bed knife isn't ground properly, the reel gets out of shape, and you're getting a certain height of cut on one end, a certain height of cut in the middle, and a certain height of cut on the other end. Not only that, I mean, a machine goes down, we have an outing or something, a machine goes down, we have to be able to turn that thing around so we can get our work done. And, we need to have, the future needs to have an upgraded maintenance facility. And this would be that's the first step in that direction. So, and the last thing listed there are the maintenance Mondays. And you see on this particular one, I took off the 7th. This is just an update from the last, this was presented at our last meeting as well. You can see where, the date of April 7th was deleted. So we have May 5th and 19th, June 9th and 30th, July 15th and 28th. The original date of July 7th was changed to the 15th because it was the day after 4th of July weekend. September 29th and October 6th and October 20th.
Don't you have an aeration in August, right? The 14th and 15th? Is that?
The
All right,
aeration.
so this is just Monday, sorry. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, the aeration there is one in August. That's the 4th and the 5th.
4th and 5th.
That's the fairway. That's the fairway solid pine. And we're trying, I haven't heard back yet, but I'm trying to get the hydrojet in for the 5th. Unfortunately, last year, we lost our spot in the hydrojet schedule, and it's been filled, and trying to get in there, I mean, it's been painful. And I have to get in there in August or sometime in June when we have our young guys back, because, we need the guys to haul buckets of sand across the green to fill this thing up. So. But hopefully we can get it in June. If we can't, I mean, August, we can't, but we just have to skip it.
One more question about the cart pass, like on 5, why we were around, driving around, and how come that was never completed? I know that was a while ago.
Well, the reason that wasn't completed is because, first of all, going down to the right-hand side.
You mean in the waste area?
Yeah, like to the right.
To me, it didn't make any sense. Your green is here, and you're taking people all the way over here. And the idea that I threw out says, first of all,
so you wanted to reroute, is what you're saying?
well, I wanted to reroute the cart path. That's why I stopped there. And I said, first of all, waste areas are great things for Arizona and the desert Southwest. Really not in with golf course design in New England per se. So instead of having a waste area, if you were to take that waste area and design a few pot bunkers or a couple other bunkers,
Let it fill with water.
go up to the top of go up by the tee, stand in that tee, and cut a portion of that hill down on the right, so you can see down there and see if there's people down there. But you can also see the risk-reward factor of playing that hole and trying to hit the green. Because if you're going to try to go down that right-hand side, right now, all you have is a waste bunker. But you put a few bunkers in there and you adjust the approach and you hide the cart path on the other side of some mounding where you don't even see it from the tee. Then you can access the approach in the tee that way. And if you're going to be brave enough to try to make that carry, if you get to the green, I mean, I've actually stood on that green and have watched people, or not on that green, but and watch people tee off and drive that green.
Mm-hmm.
And these aren't professional. I mean, these are guys who can hit a
Just go
drive.
on it, yeah.
So they're going to be, you know, if they want to take that risk, and if they don't make it, they have to deal with the pot bunkers and whatever else you decide to put there. And the other reason why is because when that cart path goes down and it rains heavily, that fills with water anyway. So we just have a wet mess. So that's why that wasn't
So it's a
wasn't
project for
completed.
another time, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
We've talked about it numerous times. Adam, when you were there, we talked about it. That is like probably, it looks like the only unfinished hole that we have on the golf course, right? 7, 8, 9 looks fantastic.
Awesome.
1 through 4, 6 looks good, but 5, if we can clean that up, your whole front 9 is just interlocked, looking great.
You look at the 5th hole too. I mean, you've got
It's a nice hole.
yeah, but you've got a dimple of a tee for a white tee. I mean, it's completely useless. Why? I mean, a par 4 at a public golf course that hope to get 40,000 rounds a year, and you have a 2,000 square foot tee on a par 4 hole for 65% of your people to play from. It's useless. You know, so there's I mean, you could finish that tee off, that hole off properly.
Yep.
Same thing with the 17th hole. It's a par 3. Look at the white tee on the par 3. Look at the white tee on the 7th hole. You basically can't use it because it's too small.
Yeah.
Well, you can use it, but it is too small. And all the trees to the right-hand side shade it, so it doesn't have a chance to grow in after you beat the snot out of it anyway. So, you know, that's the other reason why we didn't consider doing cart path work by the 7th tee. Because I would like to entertain the idea of expanding the size of the 7th tee and moving it. I know the septic system is there, but you can build a tee on top of the septic system. You just can't put a hard surface on top of
Right.
it. So, but anyway.
Just figured while the trucks were there, it would be a time to do it, but if you're gonna change something, we don't wanna do that.
Well, the thing is, that's for you to decide how you know, again, like you said, this is an unfinished hole. And these are things that you want to, this is why you want to sit down and instead of having a little bit here, a little bit there, have a master plan for the golf course moving forward. Where the committee, where you have a consensus of committee people, your golf professional, you know, your superintendent, your director of golf, what have you. Everybody sits down at the table, puts their 2 cents in, come up with a consensus, and then you have something that leads you down the road, but it also leads you down the road price-wise and stuff. You can prioritize, and you can show people, so this is what we're doing moving forward. Because I think you're going to find in the relatively near future that this is going to become more, your golf course is going to become more of an asset to your town and to your people than it was originally thought, or what is thought right now.
I'm telling you, from being in the shop, we hear it routinely every single day. Anything that we do to improve the course, whether it's a cart path or the 7th hole, the 8th hole, whatever we do, people eat it up. They love it. They love the place. It's a fun track.
Well, they like to see you reinvesting in,
Yes,
you know,
that's what they're getting for their greens fee.
I'm paying my money.
Yep.
I get to enjoy my round of golf, but you're also taking my money and improving it.
giving it back to me in a way that they can enjoy it even more. So I'm all for it.
Do we currently have a range pass?
We don't.
I know we used to.
Yes, we could put. We could create one. It kind
I
of
forget
priced.
how much it was. I
It
know
was only like $40. So I mean,
Oh.
it priced itself out
Because I know
It's a no-brainer.
the
Is it
reason I'm
still
saying.
$6 for, how much is it for a
It's
lot?
There's more now.
yeah. I think it's 8 and 10 or 8. Yeah, it's 8 and 10.
But the reason I say that, like the Whale, they have a range pass, all the balls you can hit. It's $400,
Mhm.
and I know plenty of people that buy that, and I know a lot of people from Acushnet that will go to the Whale because it's all grass.
Mm-hmm.
That was my next question. Was going to be Steve. Can we open up the grass more often?
When you say we try to open it Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays,
Okay.
we can.
I guess my reason is like, if I'm going to go practice golf or hit the range, I'm not going there on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's
Well, let me put it this way: what would you envision seeing it as being open?
I don't know.
Additionally,
I mean, close to every day. I don't know how. I don't know how difficult it is. That's why I'm asking you. I'm
well,
saying
you've
that
only
from
got
going to other
20,000
courses.
square feet,
Right.
and
When you get to the top of it, I mean, don't even include that, because you lose more golf balls when you hit the top of the range, then it's even worth opening it up, right?
Well, I mean,
Guys
I
just
think
launch driver into the woods, and you lose the entire inventory of balls.
It's
to,
pretty
to,
fun.
to answer your question, we could have it open more often, but there's a few caveats to that. First of all, like Dana said, once you get a certain distance on the front of that tee, we put out the iron-only signs.
Yeah.
Which is
Do you think
fine.
anybody pays attention to them bloody
Absolutely
things?
not.
So they're cranking, like you said, I mean, you get guys, if you're on the front of that tee and you hit a good driver, you're hitting the
Breaking
ball
windows.
through the back
Yeah,
of the driving
I-
range.
I agree.
I mean, you can come look at my office window where the ball hit and went through the office window, and so that'd be one thing you have to do. The second thing you have to do is you have to police it and stop these people from taking. What they do is they sit out there and they take divot after divot after divot in the same place, and there's a hole out there the size of this table, literally 3-inch deep.
I was just gonna
hole.
say, they're not like perfect these things.
And when
like the size
and I
of
put
shoe
signs, I
soles.
put signs out there. This is the way you're supposed to take divot, not this way,
Oh, I know.
this way. And the problem is, we fill that in and we seed it, and you have to let it germinate and come up. You can't run a mower over top of it,
Right.
because the mower is going to sink into it. It's going to screw up the bed knife in the reel. It's going to throw the sand into the bucket. So if we could get them to do some other type of
I agree with Andrew though. It's like
Hitting.
we have the most beautiful grass range I've ever seen around,
Oh yeah, it's
and
the
it
best.
hardly ever gets used. And even I understand it's a lot of work, like with the divots. It gets used. I'm just saying
Yeah, no.
it's always perfect because
I mean, and I'm just comparing it to the Whale specifically, just because they have a smaller grass area,
Much
but it's
smaller.
open almost every time I've ever been there, and
I'll have to
it's
go over
not.
and check it out.
is it exclusively just the grass area that's open?
that's
Most of the time, yeah.
That's
won't
all
let
they
you
have.
hit
They
on
don't
No,
mats,
they do have mats in the,
but they won't let you hit on.
but they don't.
them. have the
If
grass.
they're open, they don't let you hit off the mats. It's the grass only.
Yeah, because so their setup is similar to ours, is that the
Correct.
mats are behind the grass.
Correct,
So you
yeah.
can't hit off them anyway.
Correct. But I'll agree, it's obviously not as good looking as what we have in Acushnet, but I think you can, I don't want to say sacrifice it a little bit to hit off the grass. I don't know.
Well,
I just think, like, if I go into practice somewhere, I mean, I don't know, I may be different than, I'm not your weekend hack, but I'd rather go practice off of grass than turf if it's available.
And then targets out there. I know this is more work.
Well, we have on order new range targets.
Nice.
They just haven't come in yet.
Like some short game baskets would be cool. I don't know. We're getting crazy here. Probably.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, I mean,
It is.
the distance signs are fine. I mean, you're talking a whole new ball game if you want to start thinking about a practice area, a formal practice area,
Right.
Just
and that's
flags.
something if you want to start thinking about
You're
that,
gonna
that's
have to if the
something you
clubhouse goes in.
well, that's something you bring up with your architect and your golf course architect the next time you meet with them. The
Right.
possibility of putting in a practice area. Do you have the room? Yes. Are you going to put it in? You could,
Right.
but you have to think about how you're going to manage it, and you have to police these things. You can't just let people go out there and hack the snot out of it and then call it a day.
Yeah.
And like Dana, I mean, there's got to be over 1,000 golf balls in the woods.
Oh, I know.
Easily. And
You
once
guys know.
once you get to our driving
That
range,
was part of
tee,
my job there. Was
once you
looking
get to
ball balls
the
out.
last
Yes.
25, 30 feet of the driving range tee on the grass, it's so close to the woods that all the balls are going, they go right into the woods, where they hit that embankment, they roll down the hill, and they go into the woods, and there's no way to get them out unless you send a guy down there with these things.
And
I get it, but like what Andrew's saying is like, if you sold a great range pass, you should probably try and give, a good range.
range
You know?
product.
Because I know a lot of.
Well,
people
if you're gonna open the grass, you're gonna open the grass and you're gonna skip the concrete tees. Unless you have a rain day. And the other thing
Right.
about that tee is that nobody really does, when it rains, that thing floods.
Yes.
And you stand on it
squishy.
and it's water
So
and
rain,
mush.
it's mats only. We can work it
So,
out.
I think, and I agree with you that we have probably the best fairway hitting area probably in
Ever,
around.
yeah.
However, the Whale has probably an overall better, well, they have nets, they have telephone poles, they're keeping
Yeah.
those golf balls in their driving range.
Kind of.
Where, well, to an extent.
depends if
Yeah,
they-
yeah. I would say right now, you don't, like, obviously, the golf balls are a problem, right? I mean, we all know that, so I don't think you could maybe I don't think our product, our range pass might not be as good as theirs.
Correct.
If you want to open up the range every day, because look, we've been there every day, there's guys, the hacks that you mentioned that you don't
Yes.
want on that range. But if you opened it up, if you wanted it every day, you could probably open it up. Maybe the guy that comes after work at, I don't know,
Right.
5. You know, when is that last
4, 5,
time
6.
go out to the league? So you don't want the league guys on it.
Right.
Right.
So you
that's
could
a good
open up
point.
from those guys that come and do the 6 after 6 thing.
Right.
Maybe that's your time to open up the range.
Well, the
I
thing
don't know.
you could do, in answer to your question,
Control the openings so that you can
Which would
limit the
make
damage.
Tough, man.
well,
Yeah.
let's put it this way: the easiest way to correct that problem would be to open it from first tee time till 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And then shut down.
Because because that way I can have someone on my staff go out there and pull up the blocks, and he does. Danny doesn't have to have somebody going out there and taking care of it. I mean, if you wanted to do it later than when my staff leaves, which is either going to be 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Right.
then you'd have to figure out how you were going to manage or man that part, because we can come through there the next morning and bring the sweeper through and clean it up.
You're right.
And then what we have to do though is if you're going to go out there and use it, I've got to come in there, I've got to clean it up, I've got to cut the portion that's not used, then I have to get back and seed the area that was used, and we have to start from the back of the tee and move forward. So the people aren't, so you give that grass a time to come in. But still, it's going to be, it's going to cost you more money in seed for, not significantly, but
Yeah.
you're going to have to pay more for that.
Right.
But I think if you do, once you create a program, if we do this, people that do want to hit on the grass will know what that program is. We'll post it on the website. Open from this time to that time only, and that person will probably be the same person that comes to use it. And then
I mean, you could even probably, I don't know if we could section off something if you sold it as a range pass, your average hack or whatever isn't doing that. It's your golfer that wants to improve, that are making good shots,
we could do that
Could
too. If we
probably
wanted to just rope off
portion off
one area.
some
let
of it.
them-
I don't know if it would work with the way our range is set up.
Well, the only
They're gonna beat it to hell.
reason I wouldn't agree with that is not so much so that they're going to beat it in hell. If I'm out there in my little roped off area and I'm really practicing, paying attention, and Joe Schmo's back there on that thing and he hits the curveball.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been over by the clubhouse weeding the bloody flower beds and almost got hit by a golf
I've
ball.
been getting caught
I know.
in here.
So that would be my concern, is because it would, from a safety standpoint, if you're far, if you're in front of somebody else is hitting from behind, especially if you're on the, if you're on the left-hand side of that, right-hand side of that tee, and people are right-handed or hitting off the left-hand side.
Then there was that lesson that Adam once gave, and the guy actually faced the trailer and started hitting balls.
Oh yeah,
True story.
it would bounce off.
He,
What's he thinking?
I had my, Isaac's teaching area over there, and I was getting my camera ready, so I had to leave for 1 second. I said, just get loosened up and we'll get going. And as I'm walking the way, he's facing, as I'm going back to the shop, he's facing me, and I thought he was joking. And he was not joking, so he had to. Whoop. So you can't assume anything, right?
You really can't.
Yeah. So
That'd be. I mean, I would. If I was going to have it open, I'd have the whole thing open, because then we could get people to spread out, and and I think come up with a desired time frame.
Yeah.
And and then the only thing you'd have to do is you'd have to consider the weekends, because we're out of there at 8:30, 9 o'clock on the weekend.
Right.
And you're going to have some, and Obviously, you know, nothing against the folks that are playing in outing, but
No, I know.
it'd be closed for something like that.
That's completely understandable.
I usually make sure I tell Isaac if the ropes are up or something's open and the outing's coming, I always tell the bag boys, wrap it up, grab everything, throw it in the shed. Everybody use the mats. Because we're not
How about cups in the practice screen? We're asking too many things.
We'll start with 1 cup.
Well, the whole idea behind those, see, that's what, again, I don't understand golfers. I would, the idea behind those the spikes, first of all, is that if you hit that little thing, you're guaranteed that the ball's going into the cup, number one. But number two,
Not true.
not true.
No, you can just rifle it off of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, come on now. If you're going to putt like that, your ball's not going to go in the hole no matter how many cups
Good
are in
point.
the damn thing. So,
Get
damn
it, but
green.
I teach these PGA junior kids, and that's what they do. It
Well,
would
you have to
better
teach
if
them
there
not
was
to.
cups.
What you have, you can't teach them to rifle the ball off the.
Well, we try our best.
I mean, that's the
They
whole
are
idea. I mean,
children.
that was the whole idea. You really have to laugh when the USGA came up with a new rule. Well, you can leave the pin in. Well, that's the dumbest thing in the world. First of all, it ruins the cup because people reach their hand in there. But now you have exactly that. I'm going to rifle this ball and I hope to hit the stake and put it in. That's not golf. I mean, you're supposed to be able to figure out the roll of the green, the feel of the putt, and
To
you're
let it
supposed to
just
stop
drop
that
in a
ball
hole.
when it drops in the hole.
A hole.
Yeah, but see, the other thing is you're practicing.
Maybe we should just have spikes in every hole and on every green now.
No, that's because the rules of golf require you to hole out. But the other thing is that when I put 5 cups out there, you're restricted to those 5 areas on the green. If you want to try putting for a slope, you can pull that flag out and you can walk up and you can put it on the slope and you can putt up there. Or if you want to putt on the flat, you can pull it out and you can move it to the flat and putt down there.
Or you could keep them all on the line, like sometimes when they cut the green. I'm joking.
I have one person that does that,
Big
and
pond.
95% of the time I catch him. And because I said, don't do that. I mean, it's. But I mean, I can put putting green cups in. I don't have any
Even
problem.
the shallow ones?
Huh? Well, see, the other thing about when you put a putting green cup in, you only put it about a quarter of an inch below the top, because that'll extend the life of the cup,
Doesn't get beat as much.
and it won't get beat up as much. And the other reason why I put those little things around there is because I can move them. Because if you were up by the putting green today, you notice the areas, there's a walk-on area. And I don't put any cups over there and don't put any flags over there because that's where everybody walks on and they stand. And that's where the POA grows and that's where it barks out and you can see the dead spots where we were today because that's where everybody stands. But we can put, I can put 5 putting green cups or 6 putting green cups in there.
I would love it.
Kids would love it.
Sounds like a
I can't guarantee. I can't guarantee it's going to happen tomorrow, but
No, that's not
but
what
I might. I could, but I'm just. I'd like to wait till I got a few of my extra bodies back because
makes sense.
Kevin and I can only cut so many cups. I mean, we got a couple people we got to train. To free us up for us to be able to do what we're supposed to be doing, and at that point then we could do something like that. But I mean, I think no wonder golfers are so. Whatever happened to walking up, putting the tee in the ground, putting the ball down, and hitting it.
They're just like you. As you prepare the grass with that detail-oriented, that's how they play the game.
Yeah, but that's how they
You
should be
created
played.
the problem
That's
by
a
giving them
different
the
drill.
ideal product. Now they want to.
Well, that's how they should. I mean, I go back and I look at these older golfers that used to play, like the Lee Trevinos and stuff. And you look at the current guys. Lee Trevino said, they asked him about club selection one time. And he said, I take the club that I can swing the fastest and hit the furthest with, for each ball that he hits, because But I look at him, and these guys. It used to be fun watching. Now these guys out there. I watched a guy on the putting green the other day, not last week's tournament, but the week before. Christ, he had to line up to putt 15 different ways from and he missed by 1.5 feet. I said, Jesus, what, that 6 or 7 minutes that we just wasted?
To never
Because
get back.
you walk to this side, walk to that side, hold the plumb up, get down on your knee. I mean, really? And then the announcer, oh, well, it had to be the grain. Yeah, right. There's no grain in that thing when you're cutting it at 0.08 inches, eighth of an inch. Oh, it's going to roll towards the water. It's going to roll towards the water. It's the dumbest. I tell you.
Speaking of 6 or 7 minutes, maybe we
Yeah,
should,
sorry.
maybe we should pick a next date.
Agreed. Are we going?
The 17th and 24th.
Yeah.
I don't know if it matters, but 24th is a week of school vacation, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter
Sure
to
doesn't
anyone
matter
else.
to me either.
I'm out that week. I'm on vacation somewhere. If it's school vacation week, then yeah, I won't be there.
17th's fine too. I don't.
17th.
I'll do that. We'll be open for a few weeks, just see how things are going. 17th?
You look at April 17th is a Thursday, same time.
Any tier?
Yeah.
Should be.
4:30.
No, we had in the past, if anybody's interested, we could have meetings at the
I
shop
remember that.
on the golf course.
When I was working
Yeah, I was thinking, I know you were talking
there.
about.
Every
there?
always there.
Right now, they never like to have the winter meetings because it was so
It's
cold.
low cold.
I was gonna say,
in
you
the
might say
winter.
how cold it was, but I think that might be a good idea too.
I like
Once
that.
it warms up a little
I
bit.
love that,
we should be
actually.
over there. So.
So should you, Neil?
Just walk home.
Well, especially, I mean, once the,
You guys can come and take a look at
once the
some of the
league,
path work and
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we might even take like
you could actually go out.
working meeting and go out there.
That would
We'd
be
be light
great.
enough and get out down there. So
Yeah, I mean, once the
That as
season
well.
gets underway and we have leagues on Thursday nights and afternoons, that kind of stuff, it'd make it easier to, to meet there
Definitely.
instead of having to drive down here and then have to drive back.
I mean, we can even watch the weather for the 17th. If it looks decent, we can just post it that week to be there. We're not committed tonight to it being here. So
Yeah.
let's just say that for now, and we'll watch the weather that week. And let's see the post it. All right, barring nothing else. For the public, it's open tomorrow, so hopefully we get out there and have a good season.
Yes.
Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
My second.
All in favor?
I
Thank you.